What's up, world? It's your girl Elle. Today, this video is going to be a case study with one of my clients, students, mentees, consultant. She's pretty much my consultant now. Her name is Karla Romero. I'm going to have you introduce yourself. Karla has been working with me for a year now. She was one of my first clients when I launched my first group coaching program outside of my private practice. Karla, which was called Snakeskin. Snakeskin was a mini version of the Dark Femme Collective and what it is today. She also has been a past life journey client. She just completed her inner child healing / brain spotting session intensive with me. And she is also one of the mentees that will be joining us for your little side hustle. So, hey, Karla. So
Hey.
I'm gonna go ahead and have you introduce yourself. My name is Lauren Torres Vineses. I'm calling in from Patwin territory, also known as Vacaville, and I'll hand it over to you.
All right. Hi. My name is Karla Patricia Romero. I also go by Karla the Cosmic Cleric in our circles, and I am calling in from the Akakisa territory, which is also known as kind of the northwestern Houston area of in Texas. So yeah, I am currently Manang Lauren's virtual admin
Oh,
assistant.
yes, as well. Yes, service exchange client as well. Very helpful.
Yes, and
Um,
go ahead.
before we started recording, you were talking a little bit about how you found me. Do
Yeah,
you
I was
remember?
kind of so how I found you was Instagram. And I remember it was Stefan Rising. So
Oh.
I came across the Babaylan book club with Ate Aimi, and something popped up on her feed, on Stephanie's feed. And I remember just seeing these two, sun-kissed, like, bodacious, beautiful beauties, like these goddesses in all black. And I'm here for it. Black is my favorite color. And it was something to do with like, hey, we're celebrating like shadow coaching or psychology, something. I don't remember. And I was like, who's this girl? And it was Madame Lauren. And so I clicked on your profile because, yeah, we love who, our people's our people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so then I saw that you also did pole and also did powerlifting and all the things that I did. And I was like, okay, and like very kind of decked out as far as like therapy, like education. And as somebody who is witchy and also loves holistic health and is one of the things for me has been like, while I've been going through, it's kind of like the when the student is ready, the teacher appears kind of situation. So I have more or less been the past few years stepping into what I realize or stepping out of a kind of like a spiritual witchy closet and realizing a lot of different things that is like, oh, like I have always been kind of an animist. I was raised Catholic. However, it just didn't really resonate with me. I gave it a good try.
Me
It still
too.
just doesn't resonate with me. And during all of this, that's when I came across like the Center of Babaylan studies, and then that's how I got to the book club. That's how I got to Stephanie's page. That's how I got to Manang Lauren, and it's just kind of, um, kind of figuring out my own path as a woman of color, and especially what that kind of means because I live in a relatively, even though Houston is described as a blue city, just the people I kind of like are surrounded by, there's not a lot of women of color, not a lot, and definitely not a lot of women of color who are practitioners.
Mm,
Um,
mhm.
so a lot of the groups I had previously kind of done shadow work coaching or any kind of like witchy basics or any kind of like pagan, any of these kind of associations were predominantly white. And there's no problem with that. I love my friends. I love my coven sisters. But that is something that really kind of drew me in to Manang Lauren because she was starting to talk about, doing the deeper psychological work as well as from a decolonization lens. And I absolutely love that because it's all tied into me. Um, just kind of hearing about how the Babaylan was all about, a matriarchal society, and she had like the whole person's health in mind, and not only body and mind, but also spirit integration, and then just kind of like this overall um bird's eye view. It's just not even a bird's eye view, 40, 5D, just a view of everything and how we're all integrated. And then so finding somebody who looked like me, um, who was doing the work and was quite educated in the work, and was also associated with many of the people that I also followed. That to me was kind of screaming, "Hey, that's the teacher. You should probably reach out to her." And I think shortly after that, I saw that she was doing a snakeskin offering, and as somebody who has a snake tattoo and a pet snake, and just a lot of things like I grew up with Harry Potter, and I have very much identified with Slytherin. So everything to do with snakes, and this container was about pretty much like going in and kind of like transforming ourselves from the inside out, and really kind of like that transpersonal psychological lens, and
Mhm.
integrating the spirit into it, and just everything to do with like shadow work. That was screaming.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you, what was it about that that you wanted for yourself? Like what specific goals or challenges did you want?
Yeah.
So
So around
let me actually back up. So the snakeskin program, my offering as a non-therapist is as a shadow work coach. And that is like shadow work is really about looking internally at our wounds and our triggers, our past, all the things that we repress, all the things that we are not conscious of. Um, did you know you so I think I know the answer to this, but did you know what shadow work was before you found me?
I
And
did.
what, yeah.
More or less, yes. So another thing to do with snakes and shadow work was we could go into the deep end with deity work and whatnot, but the coven that I'm in, one of the entities that is kind of more of like less a mascot, and I don't want to say mascot because that does not really discuss the reverence that we have, but it is a dark feminine entity, Lilith, and Lilith is associated with snakes, and she's very much all about shadow work, and it is one of those. I kind of came across the same thing. I came across the coven and just the term shadow work really kind of like in 2023. I had heard about it before, but I didn't really like delve into it. Like I've done therapy before for years. I like doing journaling. As somebody who I was shamed for asking the deep questions, but I always, like, as a kid, um I was very curious about trying to find the root of a problem and what made people tick, like why they would do a behavior. And I was always interested in psychology and things like that. And why, yeah, just anything to do with like why do we have habits? Um, you
What
know,
what is diff what
shadows.
was different? What was different between our shadow work coaching work together and the therapy that you were in?
Yeah, well, this one is because I just felt there was a innate trust. I felt like kind of spirit guided me to you specifically. Not only because physically, like you are another woman of color, specifically of Filipino descent. Um, Growing up, because I was shamed for asking the questions, and because there was kind of a dogma about questioning our beliefs, it was really kind of a breath of fresh air for me to talk shadow work and all of the deeper things with somebody who was so open, and who was really kind of doing the work, and they were so openly also talking about it on their social media. That's something that I really appreciate and that I do too, where it's like we can't heal this trauma without normalizing it first. And so yeah, I guess working with you has been really a breath of fresh air.
And what would you say was different, like the process? Uh, well, let me Thank you. That was very kind.
Yeah.
Um, how would you compare it to the time that you were in therapy? Because I'm also a therapist, and
Yes,
the way I do shadow work in the Dark Femme Collective is a lot different than how, well, it's kind of the same, but it's different than how I would do therapy because therapy has all these rules and stuff.
exactly.
Did you notice any different? And that's part of the decolonization that I'm trying to do as well, of the field. Um, what would you say was, if there were any differences between working with your therapist and then working with me as your coach?
I think part of the issue with working with previous therapists, and while they did some, I commend them, and I really valued my time with my previous therapist. There was a point where, because I was a woman of color receiving therapy in the state of Texas, in predominantly um, very Christian. It was difficult for me to just relate. And while they had an open mind for me to, I didn't feel that connection where I could really be vulnerable, because it's like I really want to delve deep into this, but I do feel like I'm holding back just a little bit because I feel like there is some level of judgment.
Mm.
And that is something, that was my perception, but that was something that was truly kind of blocking me from kind of delving deeper. It's like, these are my beliefs. I need to be seen. And because therapy, I have many therapist friends. I love them. I have a lot of therapy friends,
We
therapist
can be
friends.
fun. We're fun.
Yeah, I love just connecting and talking about philosophy and like all of this. Um, it is kind of difficult because it's like I ran into an issue at one point where I had talked to my therapist friend. We're obviously not client, we don't have that, and they kind of they didn't know how to handle what I had just told them, because they were like, I don't know if I need to tell, like, it's like this advice, blah blah blah, boundaries. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm just ranting to you.
Yeah.
So it is a little irritating. I grew up with like malicious compliance as like a thing. Like I'm a rule breaker. Like I will study the rules so I know how to break them, but I also study the rules because I also am really great
A
at
Virgo. Yeah.
critiquing.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just it comes with the package, right? It comes with the whole, like, somebody said that I could be really good at debate at some, no,
Oh,
no
me
thank you.
too.
Yes,
Maybe we're lawyers in a different life.
probably. I have no doubt. Our natal charts are hilarious, very much meant to meet each
All
other.
right. Let me ask you another question. Okay.
But yeah, it was
Uh,
that rule thing. I just couldn't, and a decolonized
oh yeah.
space where we could really unpack and talk and commune. I, I appreciate that you know how to maintain professional boundaries. And whenever we're in a circle and we're doing a professional, and it's like we're diving off, like, let's reroute, you're able to do that really well. And I really respect that. I recommend that. Some people just don't do that. And some people, and especially with a lot of, when it comes to shadow work and group shadow work, like, there's a lot of trauma that people have to heal. So the fact that you can just keep things in line, that is commendable, but then you give space when it's appropriate so we can really do the work and connect on a communal level. And I think that's beautiful. I don't think a lot, that's a gift. I do think that's a gift. I don't think we see that enough, and I think it's very undervalued and underrated.
Thank you. Can you write that in my professional evaluation to my director so that I can take over her job?
I mean, like, I
Oh,
write
let's
a lot of things
manifest
for
it.
you.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. You're
Yeah,
okay. Okay. All
I'll
right.
happily.
Um, can you just, oh, so when you decided to start working with me, knowing that I was doing shadow work, knowing the experience, was there anything specific that you wanted to work on to get out of the shadow work? Because part of it is I would like the intention. I want people to come with an intention, right? And so what was yours? What did you want to do the internal work around?
So at the time that I started Snakeskin, and I'm very grateful that you worked with me on this. I was currently off season for work, and so um, I remember, like, there were a specific deadline, and I was like, I can pay all of this when my season work starts. However, I know we're starting 3 months early, so can we work? Are you able, would you be open to considering any kind of payment plan? And like, this is the first time I think we've talked at all. And like, it's just me cold calling.
Random person DMing me.
Yes, like, hi, I've never talked to you or interacted with your comments or anything like that. I just started following you. Will you please, like, would you be willing to like accommodate? I didn't know it was like your first container either. You handled it so well. And
Well,
you
I've
did.
been able to, like just like you, I've had businesses before, but yeah. So
Yeah.
I was able to work things out for you.
Yeah, so I was off season, and one of my biggest shadows, and one of my biggest issues that's been really like just penetrating the rest of my life has been tying my self-worth with how much I provide and how productive I am. And that is something that I know I have definitely inherited from my family, and call it generational trauma. And I understand like from really kind of stepping back and seeing how colonization and the patriarchy and just I am a first generation Filipino American, so just kind of all of the survival tactics and kind of the mentality, like just being able to see that, you know, having that lens that not only like that I've done on my own, but also have been prompted to do from Manang Lauren, and really kind of have that forgiveness and grace for my mother, so that I can also detach that level of self-worth away from my mother and kind of reclaim that power and responsibility and accountability to myself. That's been
Mhm.
really big, because so when we started working on the snakeskin, the self-worth, all of that stuff, being off season work, and then dealing with kind of like a failed first business, and going from kind of like a boss bitch kind of situation where I was providing for like a family of five, and then like I've been out of work, regular work, from my time being a project manager for like 4 years, and I had a lot of shadows around that, and so the timing was perfect. I wanted to get through and get, really unpack and detach that self-worth and really just kind of figure that out, and also understand where it was coming from, all of the different lenses, because Manang Lauren, with her all of her accreditations, I guess you could say, and all of her approaches, I think that was really what drew me in, because, even though a decolonized lens and a feminine lens really kind of has that, okay, there is an inner knowledge that we have been taught in this patriarchal society to ignore and squash down, and tell us that the knowledge that we have from our bodies and from intuition is not as important as just kind of like external validation, or like kind of giving that authority to somebody else. And I hate that. And seeing all of this stuff that Manang Lauren had put out there, I'm like, yes, thank you. I understand that. But then the application, like, it's one thing
Yeah.
to like see all of that, but then to actually like, here's your
So,
homework, apply it
yeah.
to your life. That's a different thing. Like,
Yeah.
it takes courage, it takes a self it takes a self-awareness to
Yeah.
really realize that, oh, just because I'm saying it and preaching it doesn't mean that I'm actually embodying
Do
it
it.
and integrating it.
Yes.
So, we've now worked with each other for about a year. We've done a lot of stuff, and it's funny because like I do this work outside. I do this work with my coven. I do this I journal a lot. I'm an introvert and I have a lot of time to myself, and so it's nice because I do have all of these tools now, and just being kind of like in constant exposure to Manang Lauren's, like all of her offerings, has really helped.
It's not overload. It's not too much.
Oh no, 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 highly mercurial. I love knowledge. Like it does help. So
So what would you say? Let me see what question. What would you say? Um, can you share a specific example of a session that we had or something that we did together that really helped you overcome something?
oh, we've had many, but I think that first one, so the thing that really just I was already invested in snakeskin, right? And snakeskin was kind of like the, what was it, the beta right
There's that.
before the
Yeah.
Dark Femme.
Yeah.
And then I got to be part of the Dark Femme,
Hmm.
from a service exchange point of view, which has been great because
Yeah.
seeing the development of it. So as soon as you mentioned Chiron, which is
Yeah.
which is
She's
another
our
thing.
astrology
Yeah.
consultant for Dark Femme, by the way, which is why she's getting a hard on for this. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, oh, look at all this academic. Like, I love a woman who's like well educated. Go you, go you, sis. Look at you flaunting, like, look at this amazing media. You got everything going on. Like, she got brains, she got beauty, she got everything, right? And then the slide on the Chiron wound, the earliest wound, like the child. And I was like, oh my God, is she actually going to go into astrology? Because I am about to lose it as somebody who loves astrology. And like, that was during Snakeskin. I wasn't even a
Mhm.
professional astrologer at that point. I was just like talking people's ears off about astrology and just like,
Mhm. And now what? And now
and
what?
now, yeah, so one of the things from this whole experience of working together is like, oh, I guess I am now a professional astrologer, not only because through the encouragement and it was a lot of affirmation there because and all of the working with Mun and Lauren has really kind of been one long empowerment session. And like I know we're working on like not trying to obtain validation from
But
external
it's
sources,
needed.
but it's like it's
The
more
right,
like,
yeah.
yeah, it was more of a reflection. Like she just held a mirror and it's like, hello, you have all these gifts. And I'm like, oh yeah. I guess so. And we
Yes.
can talk about a Libra moon thing and all of these things and all about my chart. And we don't need to
So
talk about my
here's the
chart.
thing. Here's the
But
thing is I I am really good at, so as a therapist, we get trained to do strengths based, right? So we try to look for the strengths in everybody. But to take it a little bit deeper is when I spend time with someone, when I'm in an obsession with someone, especially if it's like a past life journey, and especially if it's an inner child healing session, I learn a lot just by watching people, taking their energy in. And Karla, like she really can talk your ear off about astrology. And I'm like, okay, like that's what makes a really good side hustle or a business, right? Or a coach or a helping professional is somebody who is just one, very knowledgeable. Like I even get a little bit like self-conscious about my presentation on the Chiron moon because I know you know hella more about it than I do. When I got to the slide about the sun, moon, and stars or whatever, I was like, can you correct me if I'm wrong?
you
Right?
got it, girl.
Right. So the thing is that I'm really good at doing that. And I'm not gonna reflect just the good parts, like the beautiful parts that you're showing me. And I mean, of course, that's what we want to highlight, especially when you're doing a side hustle. But I'm also going to reflect back to you, and I think I did during our last inner child when I gave you your first homework assignment.
We absolutely did.
Yeah, I kind of reflect, I have to reflect your shadows because those are the things that are keeping you stuck, keeping people stuck, right? That's why I'm a shadow worker. These are your all your great strengths, but then here is where you need to like go deeper into the wound and start to heal it from the inside, right? This is where it's going to hurt a little bit. Um,
Yeah, that was the thing that really sold me was the Chiron. It wasn't just the astrology thing. It was the fact that we delved into it. It was the application. What I
mhm.
learned from Manang Lauren, which is it's great. We're recording this right now on May 17th. So the weekend after Mother's Day. And my Chiron wound and my earliest wound and biggest wound that has impacted my life is my relationship with my mother. Um,
And
and
we're going to do the mother one tomorrow during the dark band.
exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the brain spot, like we've worked multiple things. We've done past life regressions. Those have been a gift. The past life regression, and especially because it's like something that, oh, it works so well with like whenever you take in astrology and like the past life indicators, just kind of seeing my chart and then actually being guided through past life regressions and then being like, oh, this is literally giving me all of like, here were the breadcrumbs, but now here's an affirmation of like every past life regression we've done has repeated basically my soul blueprint. It's been like, so this is, and the past life regressions have been
What
amazing.
were they what you expected?
I remember that first one. I was like, I was hoping to go into my Viking past life or like my courtesan past life. being an English shipwright was not what I expected. Okay.
They were
Like,
like, nah, bitch, humble yourself.
I was like, what? But it was so crazy
It's
because
not
that,
always that glamorous.
yeah, but
But
it
was
was crazy.
the process of how I did it, was that how was it for you? Because I think what people don't know what it's like. And I can't even explain it myself because I've only had one person, my teacher, do past life regression on me, and I don't trust anyone else but myself to do past
Mhm.
life regression on me now. But I kind, like I didn't know what I was doing when I started, but now I've kind of refined my work. But what was the experience like for you, from like how I guided you to how the setup was to your pre-session instructions to your how it was afterwards? What was that experience like for you?
So I have now done two formal past life regressions with you where it was just focusing on me. And I think we've done a few just little tasters within our shadow work group,
Yeah.
from within the Snakeskin and now the Dark Femme Collective. And those are about like 20-minute situations. The fact that you guide us, so in the container, so in the Dark Femme Collective, and when we did the Snakeskin, Manang Lauren kind of like built us up, like, here is the presentation, here are things to think about, and then having the email sent up beforehand, this is the theme of what we're working on. So you're already kind of like subconsciously programming us to be aware of these things, and I love that because I can see that line of logic. And I'm one of the things that we have discussed is that I try to out to logic myself out of everything. And
Hmm.
I'm very much in my headspace, and this is part of the astrology thing, right? Like, oh, let me see what the chart says
Hmm.
and why, and explain my behavior and explain everybody else's behavior. So with the past life regression, having that, having a prompt, but then her saying, you have to feel and not logic yourself out of this, out of the experience. Whatever you see is what you are meant to see. It's what the medicine that's here for you. And I love that we have like a miniature session. It's like almost like a miniature therapy session right beforehand, because it's like, okay, why are we doing this, right? There's no
Hmm.
point in like, I feel,
I just want to see. I don't like when people are like, I just want to see.
yeah.
I'm like, well, I can't take you anywhere then.
Yeah, and that is something also that is repeated in like whenever I do divinatory things, right? Like, okay, are you just looking for like, the more specific you have a question or what, like, the more I can guide you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just going to receive whatever
Yeah.
and trust the universe is going to give you whatever. But
Was
I
it
love that.
scary? Was it
Um,
scary? Like,
I
cause
don't think it
I,
was scary for me. And I don't, and I say it's not scary for me because I'm alive.
yeah.
I growing up, I've always kind of had this like natural tendency towards taboo and whatnot. Like, I'm not a horror, like I grew up with horror movies, but I'm not into horror movies. I'm not into like anything like that. But like the whole idea of like there being an afterlife, and I've always believed in reincarnation. So the past life regression almost is like very affirming in that. And knowing that you're gonna die in the
You're
past
gonna
life,
die anyway.
obviously, like like say obviously.
Spoiler alert, you die in your past life
Yeah,
and you
but
get to see
that
it.
was so crazy. Like the past life regression, and I will say the first one was, I was distracted. I got
You're,
interrupted. So I was already distracted there, but I was also trying to, I was so confused why I was like a male English shipwright.
yeah. You kept trying to explain. So during the session, I have my clients tell the story of what they're seeing, but
Mhm.
you were like half in and half out. You're like, oh, I'm seeing this, but why? I think this is why I'm seeing this in my, and I'm like, no, stay in your past life.
Yeah.
Because you have to like to really get, I feel, to really get the full embodied experience of being in your past life, you have to stay there. And like you said, you had, I think somebody came and interrupted you, or there were sounds. But the more you can stay and feel it, the more when you get to the part of releasing it, because at the end we release whatever it is, then you can
Yeah.
actually really fully release whatever is clinging to you.
Yeah, that bit, that's my big recommendation is like the past life regressions we've done have been such medicine and so healing because they have given me they were like, it's like being in a dream,
Yeah.
but you're conscious the whole time, but like you're in like lucid dreaming, but it's a replay of your life, and she guides you through, the moments. But they do answer the question that you have, that you're the situation that you're wanting wisdom about. My first one was all about my household, like all of the relationships in the household. And we went to a past life where literally it was like, this was my household, like my past life with my exact household, including my cat that just
Mm,
passed at the time. And it was just really beautiful to just know that it's like, wow, I've had these relationships before and it was loving, and
mm,
they're back, and I what an opportunity that I get to relive or live another life with these people. And then
yeah.
like
You
it
also get a chance, it's also a chance to do it better.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I needed at the
Oh, I'm
time.
gonna cry. I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good. And
Okay.
so, and this is something else I love about Manon Lauren is like she actually feels it. Like,
I
oh yeah, she's
know.
got Pisces,
Sometimes
man.
I don't know if
Um,
you watch the recording. Sometimes I'm just like,
I remember your comment on my second one when you were like, girl, that was like a Korean drama. I'm like, I remember that. Yeah, it felt
I'm
like it.
like,
I was bawling. Like,
yeah. And I have 100% ball rate, by the way, anyone who's watching this, 100% balling rate on both my inner child healings and my past life. Everyone is cried.
yeah.
So let me ask you about the inner child healing session.
Oh,
So with this
wow.
one, with the my inner child healing sessions, they're a blend of subconscious journeying, brain spotting, which I'm trained in, and EMDR. So depending on the client, I will choose whether I'm going to do EMDR or I'm going to do brain spotting. And with Karla, I had decided to do brain spotting because Karla has lots of energy. It goes lots of places. And brain spotting is a gaze specific modality where we stay in one spot and we move very little. Whereas EMDR, you move, I do this, right? And so what was the differences? Did you have the same intention to work on? And what were the differences that you noticed about the different sessions?
So with the past life regression, um, it's a lot of affirmation on one, well, I as I mentioned before, the belief, my belief in reincarnation, but also it's so encouraging and so loving. It's like your soul will continue like living, and it wants so badly for it, like it's urging you on for growth and all of
Mhm.
these lessons. So there is such like a universal unconditional love there. And so that's beautiful. That's past life regression, right? It's like, what can we learn? And like you guiding us towards at the end, where it's like, okay, well, what did we learn, right? What are the action steps now? That's a lot to think about, right? It's like, if anyone's going to do any of your sessions or any like not just your sessions, but if anyone wants to delve into any shadow work, like please like schedule some self-care, self-love to unpack afterwards. Like don't do this in between meetings. Don't do like you need to self-care yourself afterwards, because it's
Yeah,
like otherwise I feel like the integration is not going to go as well. Like you
no.
just like dug up all of these wounds, and whether it's the past life, like literally you're a different lifetime, or your past recent life, which is your inner child,
Yeah.
somebody like, I mean, that is really kind of like, let's dig into your heart, like let's like throw it up in the open, like lay it on the table, and then like, now what do we do with it?
Yeah.
Like, well, you gotta nurture it, right? So with the
Mhm.
inner child healing, because my main wound has been my mama trauma. And it's like I say that lovingly, just well, I say it because it rhymes, let's be real.
Yeah.
But it's like, because that is my biggest wound. I was raised by a single mother, and then she successfully climbed the corporate ladder, anything, all of that. But I needed inner child healing. And I did really kind of absolutely loved that, because I didn't know what my medicine would be like, if it was just going to be like another guided journey, or if it was going to be like, I had seen your stuff for EMDR and brain spotting. I don't have experience with, I did not have previous experience with either of them. And then you did the brain spotting, and that was crazy. Um
Sorry to smile, but yeah.
it was crazy. It was a crazy experience for me, just because as somebody who is spiritual and who is relatively open-minded and optimistic, the brain spotting, yeah, I've always been makulit. Like I've always been like, all over the place. So Lauren having enough knowledge and, observational skills and the professional kind of like the empirical knowledge to be like, okay, this is going to be your medicine and this is going to be like the tool I'm going to use. Your brain spotting thing had a Hello Kitty straw on there. There, that's it. Do y'all see
My
this?
brain. This is my inner child healing tool.
So that triggered me right there.
I didn't know that, sorry, but it was probably helpful.
I know. And but it was the medicine I needed,
Yeah.
right? Because you were like, focus on this thing. And I was just like,
You're like, I hate Hello Kitty. I like Bad Bats Maru. And I'm like, I love Bad Bats Maru too.
I know. I was like, I like her. And it wasn't really like a hate for Hello Kitty, but it was definitely one of those like, wow, of all the tools that you decided to pick, not only did you pick the right one, but you picked like the accessory that you picked for that. Like this is beyond professional stuff. Like Lauren, you do some,
Witchery,
from like,
witchy stuff.
yeah, you have something going on here that you're just like, okay, this is the exact medicine that I'm going to use for you. So,
Mm,
um, to me, that was a little bit more intense. The brain spotting was, I love that there are, um, you give more than an hour for that. I do believe like at that time, I think we did a 2 hour session. I know you've done multiple hours longer
yeah.
before. I did not need more than like 2 hours with that. I definitely needed more than an hour, but I did not need more than 2 hours because that was a lot to process for me.
Mhm.
I turned down a Filipino graduation party with like karaoke and lumpia like after that, and I could have
Right. Did I tell you that you probably needed some time after a session? I should probably tell people a lot
I don't
more.
think you told me that. It was just one of those like
I
I
have to
just
remind
listened to
people.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is one of those things like it just in general, if you're gonna do shadow work, like please, like
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you if it's okay, I'm gonna ask you about a certain part of this session that we did.
mhm,
Because I had never done it before. It was intuitive. So
mhm.
there was a part of the session where you're saying something like, I just felt like I wish I would have walked out. I wish I could have just left. And then I was like, okay, can you get up and actually physically leave the room right now? Because I wanted you to like part of that embodiment that you were talking about is when you're talking about a trauma or when you're talking about a situation where you close in or you freeze, the healing is to then do that thing that you wanted to do back then so that you can release it. And so I was like, yeah, her body needs to have that feeling of being able to get up and walk out of that room, whatever room she was stuck in the past.
Mhm.
How was that for you?
Oh, that was amazing.
Because you're like, I gotta go. I want to go. And I'm like, go, get out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So in that particular memory, it was just I remember we like the brain spotting part, because you were like, if you're feeling emotions and you have to be like, that's the invitation right there. It's just like, okay, focus, sink in, feel in your body if like something is changing. And yay for me starting to finally do meditation to really be like, oh, okay, and
Yep.
stop and pause and actually pay attention to what my body's doing. But yeah, we got to this one part where I just was so confused why I had to be in this room. Like I wasn't making any contributions. It was like if anyone's been in a bullshit meeting before where you're like, why are we all here? Like this is between two people. This could have been an email. I
Mhm.
like hopefully so like this resonates with someone, but as somebody who like walks and talks and has a lot of energy and like needs to get things out, I don't need to be sitting in a multi-hour meeting when I'm not even like I've read the instructions, I've done the work. You guys are like yelling, and this was a constant memory also with like being present with like my mom arguing with my grandparents. And it's just like so to physically have the permission to get up and leave, like so that because this is what my body so desperately wanted to do in every one of those situations where I'm like, I need permission to leave, please. Like this doesn't involve me. I am getting highly impacted by this energy. That was wonderful. I went outside. I got like, because I do feel trapped. I felt trapped in every one of those situations. I was always like looking at a window or looking out outside. Like I need some fresh air. Like this is stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody needs to cleanse this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was such an intuitive. That was a great part. I felt kind of bad though, because at least I'm glad that she said like 5 minutes because,
Because you
or
would have
like, no,
left.
you said 5 breaths. That's what it was. Or like, she's like, I need you to physically leave, close the door, come back. And I was like, all right, how quick are these breaths? But then once I actually got outside and I like, touched some fucking grass, like literally put my feet in the grass, I was like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm, I'm
Because yeah,
grounding.
it's not just about sitting, like I can get people to sit into their emotions and hold space for that, but it's also about taking an action and then doing the thing you need to do for your spirit. I'm doing a quick time check because I have a session after this.
Mhm.
So thank you so much. I think we went through everything. We didn't really talk about the Dark Femme too much or about the mentorship. But
Mhm.
I am, like I said, Carla is now part of the Your Little Hustle mentor, my Your Little Side Hustle mentorship program that I'm doing this summer. We've already started work on her business. She's already created her offer. She's got a pricing point for her offer. She's got a lead into the offer. Now it's just about telling people about your offer and actually really, really putting it out there. And part of the mentorship that she receives, she also gets access to my email list and all the contacts that I have. So if you do decide you want to join my mentorship, you already have an audience of folks who actually who I would refer out to. So if I had a client who I knew, which all my clients, therapy clients, coaching clients are like astrological babes, I will say, you need your natal chart read, go to Karla. She knows every fucking thing about astrology. So right. So that's what we'll do is we're gonna package what your knowledge, your experience, the things that light you up into an offering for the community. So to kind of close this case study, what would you say to anyone who might be considering working with me in any of the offerings that I have?
So I think this is something that you actually said in so first off, you will know. And when I say you will know, it's one of those like there is an intuitive part to it, but if Manong Lauren stuff is like like showing up in your feed and you're like when you're ready, like the student is ready, teacher will appear. But if her stuff is coming up on your feed, if you're just being guided, and like do your research, check out the like what her offerings are, look at like there's so many things if you actually put out there, you're
Mhm.
it's right there. It's like you have like on YouTube, for example, you have an example of the Dark Femme Collective session 1. It's right, so people can see what it's like to work with you. And you said it yourself, it's like there is a part whenever you're looking for a coach or a therapist, and if they don't vibe with you, they're not your medicine. And I think that that is a perfect way to really kind of feel things out, because you know everybody's unique. And so it's like I can tell you all day long how much I stan Manang Lauren, like, and how much she's awesome. But at the end of the day, like, I mean, and if you're listening to this, then what are you doing? Like, what are you waiting for? Like, you're listening to another interview, so it's like, like you're probably already here, right?
Oh.
So
So this should be your confirmation to join us this summer or at the end of the season for the next Dark Femme Collective.
exactly.
Um, Thank you so much, Carla. I need to level up my background to look just like yours. It's very like on brand. I love it. And it makes me I want to like I just want to talk about the stars with you after looking at that.
Oh,
Okay,
always.
anyways, but yeah, if you are interested, please visit my website, www.laurentorresviniestas.com. You can follow me on Instagram at manang.lauren._. And then Carla, would you like to give your handles as well, if you'd like?
Absolutely. So you can find me actually through Manang Lauren's website. So same thing, Lauren Torres Finiestas.com/the Cosmic Cleric. So you can see it right here on
Mm.
my thing. You just type in the Cosmic Cleric, all one word. And same thing for Instagram. So at the Cosmic Cleric, and just kind of anything that like you would find for business at the Cosmic Cleric. Yeah, so if you would like, you know, if you feel like we're a good vibe and you're all into dark femme things and shadow coaching, is like, I would love to help you unpack that as well. That is part of my package to the Dark Femme Collective. Is let's do this, like,
Yes.
let's get nerdy with it, let's get weird with it.
On that note, let's do that. And thank you so much, Karla. I will actually be seeing you later, in a couple
Yes.
days anyways. All right,
Right.
thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks,
Thank
Karla.
you.